one word order switch was already in this sentence. Rather than saying that ama altu kanichu nisha, we heard several times altu ama kanichu nisha. So the altu became before ama. Those, could well be, should probably be in the other order. The other thing which struck, and then you're right about putting the thing at the end. So there's two defaults in this type of elicitation section that's with respect to word order. One is, of course, the trap of Spanish, that somehow Spanish word orders get imported into the elicitation more quickly. The other is that there is a bit that people are constructing the sentence and they're trying to be as accommodating to you as possible by putting in all the elements, and then sometimes you get something like wawara way at the end, which shouldn't be there but really should be more to the front, but they know that they wanted wawara in there just to help you, because they themselves could probably make the sentence shorter if they were just speaking it. So one thing which is also very linguistic language is to make very full sentences. Because linguists like to get all the arguments in there so they know that all the grammatical relations are appropriate. Amazonian speech, Doris Payne has written this paper about Yagua at one point, where she points out that in Yagua, which is this language on the Amazon border, Brazilian Amazon border, in Peru, I think something like 60% of the utterances in her corpus consisted of one word. So she, pretty long words, but so she said, I find it, she was trying to solve some of the linguist questions about word order and all these things. She says, I can do it from my elicited data because I can have the dog there and I can have the bone there and I can have all these other things there. But if I look at my corpus data, I just find ate. It ate it. Animate ate inanimate somehow, and no bone and no dog present. So we often get kind of these afterthought effects like, wagrara or wawara or some other element kind of added at the end, which may suggest that there's these things at the end which actually are not correct. And sometimes the speaker will say something twice, and then in the second version, move it back to the place where it should be, to be more like Quechua. So this is something that we also found. Another thing that struck me was that, and let me get to the example. This type of example, well, whatever, this is probably okay for Luisa in some form or another, but there is a Marani here, Pagtaima Marani, with the past, which is fine for Luisa, but which for Pedro was not good. So he was making it into Mani every time. Ma'ani or some other form like that. So he was not putting a past in there. And Eloidia was not doing either. She was putting in something like Pactana Marani. So she was just putting in na. Rather than, so she was avoiding this ma construction altogether. So here we found the three speakers were pretty systematically doing different things with this past potential, which is it's something which many varieties have kept in some way, but it's a little bit like that I was talking about yesterday about you hear the clocks but you don't quite know where you hear the bells ringing but you don't quite know which bells ringing exactly. It's kind of like there's several ways of handling the construction in local cultural varieties, and they're all a little bit different. So sometimes you put in the past, sometimes you replace the ma with na, sometimes they'll have a past, sometimes a present. So there's a bit of variation in the data here between speakers, which is really dialect variation. The last thing is that I want to mention is this yada. So one of the ways to create, and this is something that really was new for me and which was very helpful, is that to create a sense of impotence or a sense of aeriality in some of the sentences, Elodia particularly within Nisha, Yara, kind of like wanting, no matter how or something like that, to make it really kind of indefinite. So in that sense, it made it more like an aerialis. And this is precisely the kind of thing I was looking for when I said this morning that particles were a little bit absent in the sentences. And then she also had a case of wash in there, so something like mashka wash. So I think she said something like Yaveta mashka shawash. Exactly. That wash there is the indefinite. Looking, however much I'm looking for the keys. So that's also a way of making it more of an aerialis structure. So in that sense, I think we got quite a bit further this morning in terms of understanding how people would actually, flesh it out a bit beyond the bare bones that I have in this presentation. By putting in these particles to make it more indefinite, more frustrated. You want some frustration in there too, because it's counterfactual. Things are not happening the way they're supposed to be happening, or something like that.
How would you say the Yaira was modifying?
So you get, well, I don't have just the right example here. I could write it down. Let me create a little file.
When you chinga raushayata kispirani. Or when you cheese and nisha yara kispirani.
So, okay, yeah, let's go here. Like when you Shisha, Sha, Mi, Sha, Ra, Kishpirani, Kishpini. Which means, so it means kill or die, causative, same subject. So, no, sorry, this is from future. This is, I'm saying I will kill, say, and then what I generally gloss as limited to or something like that, only or just, and this is a kind of emphatic miss. So it's kind of like saying, you have this weird construction in that here in the highlands and also in the lowlands. If you want to say, I want to kill, you say, I say I will kill. So it's interesting, we were possible also a schwa, that could be a schwa construction as well. It's just like the Nishpa construction, the Nisha construction. It's like I will kill wanting, or I will kill saying just emphatic, I missed. And so that yada there kind of creates a contrast between the wanting to kill and the actual missing. It kind of gives you this aeriality notion that we need to really get the mood in there. In that sense, the yada adds to. If you just said when you chisha, nisha, kispini, you're saying, oh, I was trying to kill, but then I missed. You're not really giving it enough frustration. You're not, creating the contrast between wanting to do it and not doing it. So, I hope we have a chance to sit down and get some of these data down. well, I hope to interact with you later if you have further ideas, and I'll show you a further version on which you can then contrast with your own versions to see how you recorded the data, what I did with it, whether I manipulated the data, how I manipulated the data, because I'm sure I did. In some sense, making sense of is also manipulating. Because in some sense, since there's a data overflow, you're trying to find a pattern in there that's, and you have to be as, I don't have a particular axe to grind in this whole thing, so I'm not trying to be dishonest, but somehow I still have to go beyond saying, oh yeah, there's a lot of things happening. I have to really get to some kind of pattern in there, and trying to see the pattern is really what I try to do.
Thank you so much. That was great. Thank you.
So I'll try to get, let's see, this one would be out now.